let me just swallow, okay? Mine went straight there, didn't it, Tom?
But you gave no context. Like, we'd started the podcast and you opened with, let me just swallow. Like, there was no context. And what I'm thinking of is the person who would hear that for the first time going, what now? What? Because I don't know what she's,
Just Rice Krispie bar, that's all it is.
Rice Krispie bar and coffee. Good on you. Thanks a million for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so nice of you to invite me on.
No, do you know what? I met for the first time we met at the 3 Arena of all places to meet. And you know when even when you're just only half talking to somebody because it was such a mad night and busy or whatever, but you just find a kindred spirit in somebody, you go, oh, do you know what? You go for pints with Maura, like, at the second I met you, it was like, no, yeah. As they say down in Cork, she's one of our own.
Thank you.
That vibe was given straight away. So I was like, I like Maura. I don't even know her properly, but I like Maura immediately.
Cheers. Thank you, Tom.
You were on holidays. How was it? Was it exactly what you needed?
Yeah, so I spent last week in Portugal in Albufeira, and yeah, just absolutely, because it's been a mad couple of months because we've come kind of straight out of lockdown into 2 live shows. Like the lads hadn't done a live show in over 2 years, and their first live show is their biggest live show ever. 10,000 people in the 3 Arena. And because we also started with 2FM, like there was no real massive production meetings or anything like that. Like, you've met the saint that is James Hayes.
Yes.
So like, kudos goes to that man, because he pulled it together and he got the pyrotechnics. He got whatever he needed, the lads needed, he got it. So so we that, and then a month later we the Marquee in Cork, which was, I think, postponed for nearly 3 years or something like that. So it's all been mad. So then just go off to Albufeira, and I was like, the first day I was like, right, getting out the tourist brochure, because I gone by myself because my boyfriend's over in Germany playing professional American football, so this is his kind of season. So we'll come back to that. To that. So I was like, right, rocking out to Albufeira, all the touristy stuff thing. I just like went down to the beach and I was just like, I'll have a pint, please. And then I was like, do you know what? I could just stay here and be very happy with myself for the next 5 hours. And I did that, and it was great. It was really, really nice. Just vibed out beside the sea, sipping Sagres beer, which is so, so nice.
Oh my God, I've long-lasting memories of those times where you turn around, you go, I have a handful of times in my life where I have zero responsibility, even on a session when there's other people joining you. There's a touch of responsibility of, do we want another spot? Fuck it, they're not here yet. Do they know what pub it is? You had none of that. You actually just rocked up to the pub and on the fly went, here, I could go on the tear by myself here in the sun with zero responsibilities. Just people watching.
Yeah, and it was like watching the live action version of Love Island. It was perfect. And then I was actually really weird. It's like somebody walked up to me and they were like, when's part 3 of the GA Catfish? And I was like, for fuck's sake.
I mean, you didn't go to Outer Mongolia. You went to yes. You were going to be copped. That's absolutely beautiful. The notion of that, just rocking up. And did you do any of the touristy things because you had no responsibilities?
I did do 2 touristy things. So the first touristy thing I did was I went out on a beach. Went out on a boat.
That's just 1 foot on the beach. That's it. That's me done. Off the bucket list. Thank you.
Went out on a boat, and it was like, it's like the cave and dolphin tours. So like, it was grand. 40 minutes seeing the caves, like, these are nice caves, and then like an hour out on the ocean looking for dolphins. No sign of dolphins. I was like, Jesus Christ, all gone the way of fungi here, lads. What's the story? So that kind of put me off kind of touristy stuff then. And what else did I do? I can't remember what else I did.
You were drunk. You were drunk for the entire thing. Tell the truth.
I was pretty much. Yeah. Oh, I forgot this. I don't know if I want to admit this publicly. Okay.
The lads will be raging this now because they're away in America at the minute now, and they're going, hold on, our Maura is giving away exclusive, beautiful stuff from our holiday here. Yes, please, give it to Buckshot.
Okay.
Come on.
I went to a water slide park by myself, and for the day, and I went on every single water slide, and it was euphoric. I was like, oh my God, I am like, 10 years old again, just like bombing it down the slides, like, nah!
When was the last time you got to go to a water park? I can't remember when I went to last.
I'd say I was a teenager, because actually last year my boyfriend, so he came back from playing American football in Finland last year, and was like, right, we're going on holiday together. He's like, we'll go to Salou. I was like, I was like, I let him book the holiday. I was like, listen, we can go anywhere you want, but I want, there has to be somewhere in a water park, because I just really, really want to go to a water park. That's grand. Brilliant water park in Salou. We'll go there. Got there. It was closed. I was
like Wally World.
It was just like the water park. The one thing I asked for, and it's closed. So, yeah.
The great thing is, like, you can rock up to a water park by yourself as a grown woman, and people will go, oh, there's a woman enjoying herself. Different story if I rock up. Because I'm going, that sounds great, but then I put it in context to reality and went, oh, no. There's a different moment when a grown-ass man with a mustache turns up. Probably wearing inappropriate togs as well. Don't know.
Yeah. Oh my God. Do you actually want to hear something really inappropriate? I can't believe I'm going to tell this on your podcast.
Did somebody's nut fall out of their Speedos?
No. This was like, speaking of like weird shit, this is just last weekend, and I had to tell somebody, right? I was at the Loud Agricultural Show in Dundalk, right? You know these agricultural shows.
I've hosted many a thing at the Ploughing Championship.
Yeah, this kind of vibe. So lad over the Tony system, shouting out, oh, there's the dog shows happening, the horse shows happening, and then he goes, and the Bonnie Baby competition is happening, and it's being judged by Gary Glitter. And then he goes, I can't believe he did this. He goes, joke. It's actually being judged by Jimmy Savile's brother. I was like, oh my God. Like, who gave that man a microphone? Like, seriously, like, what is that about? Like, this is like, I couldn't believe this. I was like, is this real life? Is this like, seriously, I feel like I've like morphed into an episode of Father Ted here.
Were you like, okay, give us context. Where were you standing? Were you able to see other people? Were you walking along and went double take your ear going, did I just fucking hear that? Or
I was walking over to where my brother's food truck is. He has a food truck business, Freebird Pasta. I'll give a plug here for it.
Yes.
Freebird Pasta. He might give me some free food for it. I was walking there, and then it's like, oh, Gary Glitter. And it's like, I'm like, what? And then like I was sitting down later on because I was taking my dog into the dog show, and I went, this woman was like sat next to me. She's like, did you hear the man announcing the Bonnie Baby competition? I was like, I did. I mean, like, what's the story there? She was like, she had a child, and she was just like, if she wanted to hunt him down and do harm to him. So,
Please tell me you went over to the Bonnie Babies competition just to see the fallout, because you'd have to see.
Do you know, I'd say the Bonnie Baby competition didn't go ahead. I mean, like, what responsible parent is going to bring their child to a competition?
Like the whole...
Where the announcer jokes that it's been judged by a paedophile.
The whole, like, Honey Boo Boo situation, where there was, like, these forceful mothers putting their children into, like, these competitions or whatever, like, for beauty queen things. And they're going, I don't care. I honestly don't care if Gary Glitter is judging this. She is fucking winning, and that's the end. Like, somebody's so determined that a convicted Pete.
My God, I don't
But
know.
You got to give your man some form of kudos. He was trying to be funny. No build up, no nothing. Came straight at sober people over a tannoy at an agricultural show. Completely in the wrong place, wrong time. Darkened comedy club, maybe if you can phrase it right.
Yeah.
But Jesus Christ, man. I'm so viciously jealous I wasn't there for that moment, though, to be honest with you.
It's like, I was like, this is going to be on Liveline the next day. Like, you know, somebody is going to call Joe about this. Like,
what agri-show was it again?
The Louth County Agricultural Show in Berlurgan Park. It was on in Dundalk last weekend. So, yeah.
And how did your dog fare?
She got second. Very proud of her. Very, very proud of her. Now, there's only 2 dogs in the competition, but we're not. It was her first dog show, and she was really nervous, and she did so good. She's my baby. So,
what kind of dog is it?
She's a basset hound.
Oh, I've seen your basset hound.
Yeah.
It was going to be a basset hound or a schnauzer. Natasha wanted it after her wedding, and we couldn't find a basset hound, so we found a woman in Wexford that sold schnauzers. So,
lovely, yeah.
I would imagine yours is a bit calmer than ours. That's the only thing. Ours is kind of mental.
Okay, yeah. No, Jodie's fine. She's just very demanding. She's like, she is the dog of, you know, like a woman with no children who has a relatively good income. So I just transfer all of my mothering onto her. Like, it's like, oh, you want a new toy? Okay, yeah, let's order it. It's like, I have in my shopping cart, like, on Amazon, a life vest for her. I was like, oh, I might buy a paddle board, and like, me and Jodie can go out, like, I'll have a little life vest. I'm like, I don't even have a paddle board. I'd like, why do I think I need to buy this for my dog, a life vest, when, like, she is 4 foot long and her legs are 4 inches. Like, if she could swim, it would be impressive, even with a life vest. Like,
I love the notion that the dog, you're preparing for the day that the dog possibly turns around to you and goes, Mom, could we get a paddleboard? You're going, yes. Yes, we fucking can. Absolutely, we can get a paddleboard. They do, yeah. I've noted our one has kind of turned into similar to that in a way. She's very demanding, but what I described her as, as in dog years, she's in her mid-30s now. So she would be after getting a really good job with the civil service in Dublin. And like you said, earning a pile of money, but spending it all on her. She's got Kardashian. She's really got a Kardashian attitude. And we ruined her. It was the best thing we ever did, because at least then when we had an actual child, we went, oh, we fucking ruined the dog. So.
Yeah, I know. I love her to bits. Like, she is, when you've had a long, hard day and she just comes up and she flops on top of you and you just start rubbing those ears, the long ears.
Oh,
it's
class.
Like, this is like taking all the stress and the boo-boo away.
The boo-boo, brilliant.
Yeah.
Do you still live in the country? Do you still live in Meath?
Yeah. So I'm planning on building. Well, I am. I'm building it this year. I'm going to take the plunge. So I have. Hopefully September time we'll be starting building my house out in the countryside. So yeah, I couldn't live in Dublin. Like, I really couldn't. Like, you know, I remember like once in 2011 going to look at this apartment beside Phoenix Park. It was like for sale for 90 grand for nothing, like, you know, like,
yeah.
2-bedroom apartment probably be worth like $500,000 now.
Yeah.
And I just went there and I was like, you know what? I can't do it. I really can't do it. Like, so.
And you were beside the biggest field that Dublin has, and it still wasn't enough.
That's what I thought about. It was like this apartment looked over into the Phoenix Park, and I was like, yeah, like I can see a field. I could make this work. And then I was just like, no.
And have you planned and everything got?
Yeah, planning got. So, but I changed my plans. So a little bit because I'm a fussy bitch. So and plus I was planning to build too big, you know, like I was like, oh yeah, the grand more. And then it was like, so that's, you know, gonna be like 60 grand more than you got. And it's like, okay, guess I don't need those, like, you know, the good sitting room and those 2 extra bedrooms, you know, like, let's just build what you need and you can always extend at a later stage. So
I know we had, I mean, we all have those notions, especially during the boom as well. And then we've let all these houses around Ireland now that are around that where we've moved back to Tipperary, and these monsters. And when we moved down first, we started renting a house. I was like 3,500 or 4,000 square foot of this thing. I was ridiculous. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But when you're, you know, when your wife goes missing in the house, you're like, this is, you know, and you're going, there's too many sitting rooms. There's too, like, and shit needs cleaning all the time. And we're like, we're relatively small people too. We could probably do it in a much smaller house. And we probably spend an awful lot of time outside too. So we're on a similar track to yourself right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, my brother is the same. Like, he's built his house and he's already like, I built too big. So I'm like, you know, if I build small, I can always extend it. Like, no, I'm not even building small. I'm building, like, you know,
a normal sized house.
Yeah. Like, you know, I still have those notions where, like, I want, like, Hugh Wallace down going, this so I'd be like, you know, but I mean, like, I'm a bit more moderate now and realize that, like, my brother said a good thing about people building houses in the countryside. You know, a lot of people build houses and then can't afford to leave them. So so I'm just like, you know, I want my week in Portugal every year. I want my dog pampered like fuck. You know, so I'm just gonna be sensible. So
it's funny, isn't it, how you get sensible with age? Because we were looking at ludicrous size things. Like, well, I mean, because I come from originally the building world, like, so I was like, I could build that with my eyes closed. Sure, I think of all the saving we'll have with me on board, and I'm like, oh, materials are how much now? Oh, how much is that wood? Can we make it out of something else? Can we find another material nearby? Can we make it out of fucking grass? We've loads of that. Can we make it out of grass? So it's needs must, you know, and like that. I mean, you don't want a rope around your neck. Like, we could have lived in Dublin for that, or bought in a built up place for, you know, that kind of money. So it's same story. But again, I suppose it's a daunting notion for building your own house unless you, I suppose, know somebody who did it already. Like, you have your brother, and there's chances are you're handy too, I'd say. Are you?
I would have always been rooting around the farm, like, and stuff like that. So, like, I am trained in nothing but, like, so, like, when I was young, my dad bought me a pony. He was like, grand, away you go, bought you the pony. I was like, okay, well, you know, I need to train the pony, so I need to, like, jump. So, like, he was like, there's the shed, there's wood. So I went in and, like, made my own show jumps and all those kind of things. Like, so I think what will make me a good builder is I'm good at making decisions. So I know, I know exactly what I want, and I don't dilly-dally, and I'm like, we'll go with black windows, triple glaze, aluclad, grand, job done. So
see, that's what breaks most people when they have a builder going, what type of screws do you want? You're like, oh, Jesus Christ almighty, I don't know. And you would have already gone, fucking brass, pull the trigger, make it happen. We can change them down the line. Don't worry. Get on with it, you know. Because, and I'm guessing, it must have been journalism, surely you studied. Because you have...
do you know, like, it's really weird. I was only thinking about this the other day. Like, so I always, like, my dad is obsessed with all forms of comedy, like Dave Allen. He had the Marx Brothers and VHS, like, tapes, like, you know, like, real proper series.
Wow.
Like, real, like, comedy, real, like, highbrow comedy.
You can tell him I'm related to Dave Allen.
No way.
Dave O'Mahony is his real name. He went with his mother's maiden name because British MCs couldn't pronounce his name in the clubs in the UK, which I find it really annoying. They can't pronounce O'Mahony. The British accent can't say O'Mahony.
So, what did they say? Like,
Mahoney?
Or did they say it like in fucking Police Academy?
Yeah, Mahoney. That's as close. That's as close as they can get. And when you try and correct him, they can word it with you as you're standing in front of them. But as soon as they walk away from you to go to pronounce it, they're like, and then I don't know. And you're like, you could pronounce the fuck with 13 syllables before me. How could you know? But that was the reason behind it. Anyway, sorry to get in the way of your father's really good taste.
Yeah, so but then I really liked reading the newspaper when I was in school. So I thought I'll be a journalist.
I love that little young Maura, which looking over the newspaper.
There used to be fights over the Irish Independent. It'd be like, I go across the shop and buy it, and then Dad would be like, "Oh, give me that." I'm like, "You have it when I'm done." I'm like, okay. So I was like, I'll do journalism, like, because I was always really good at English, really good creative writing and all that stuff. So I did journalism, but then like my dissertation was about the Jon Stewart show, the Daily Show.
Brilliant.
And how it was like using comedy as infotainment, like, so way of telling the news stories through a humorous kind of story. So I was always kind of interested in that. And then like after that, like, so I came out in college after I did journalism in Irish, and I came out and was like, well, straight into the recession, like, bye bye Celtic Tiger. So after that, it was just a matter of getting a job and keeping a job. So I stayed doing that. Like pretty much stayed in proper like journalism,
who'd you go to first?
So I went to Meath Post. It was like a tabloid newspaper for Meath. I there a year. Then I went to Northern Sound Radio in Monaghan, in Cavan, Monaghan. So I did 2 years there. Then I went to News Talk. I did 3 years there with Ivan Yates and Chris Donahue on The Breakfast Show. I loved it, but would never go back to breakfast radio. I never want to have to get up at 5 o'clock again in the morning. Then I did 2 years in the Farmers Journal.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the Farmers Journal. And then the opportunity to go into RTE came up. So like finally, I think this was like the first time that RTE had heard, like since in 2015, it was the first time that they actually had a researcher recruitment panel. So I applied for that and got in, thank God, because there was massive competition. I think about 600 people applied for it.
Of course.
So I got on the panel, and then once I got into RTE, it was really funny. I thought, okay, current affairs, but they were like, okay, no, we're going to put you into light entertainment. And once I got into light entertainment, my God, was I so happy. It was like the best thing. Like, you just, you spent like 7 years really, working hard and doing different types of current affairs, and then you get into light entertainment. I love this. Like, so I was working on the Saturday Night Show with Brandon O'Connor the last 5 months of it before I finished up, and then the producer of that was going across to the Late Late Show to produce the Late Late, and he asked me to come with him. So then I was like, oh my God, I'm on the Late Late Show.
Ringing straight home to the parents going, you're not going to believe it. Like, you made it. So it's Late Late. The Late Late.
The Late Late. Oh my God. So did that for 4 years and like absolutely loved it. And then that's how I kind of met the two Johnnies then, because I seen their Copper song video and I was like, that is class. I was like, that would go down so well in the Late Late. Tried to get them on, pitched them for ages, was getting nowhere. And then they asked me to produce their podcast, and I felt really bad about not getting them on the Late Late, because they'd actually written a song for the Valentine's show. Right. And we didn't get them on the Shift song. And I was like, I couldn't pitch them on and like doing it. So I was like, yeah, I'll produce your podcast. And then here we are, 4 years later, playing the 3 Arena. It's mental. Like, it's just like, is this real life? What's going on?
It's the speed of it, really, the fast turnaround, like the speed. And that's kind of what, because I can remember the day the boys were on my podcast and Johnny B rang me up and went, I think we should start a podcast. And I'm like, yeah, you already have a brand, you have your thing going, and people already like you. This is what you do. Yeah. And I said, look, if you're, because I was very lucky, I had people who were friends who were already in the podcast world, so they pretty much gave me all the equipment to start with. And Johnny P was like, what do we do? You just do what I did with G. But I said, you should probably, you know, find somebody. You're in the music, you're in and around, you'll find somebody to help you. And clearly Maura was next on the case there. But it was the speed of the turnaround.
Yeah. One thing that I think though, like I always think about them is like when I'm talking to them, like there's always a really good creative flow. Like I always enjoy having the crack with them. Like
you can sense that, like, yeah.
And if you like, if I'm enjoying it, surely the listener's enjoying it, because like, you know, you're going to work and you're coming out like just laughing your head off, like, or you're just like, that was, you know, like sometimes there is a lot of work, like trying to get guests on, and like sometimes we're like, oh, we're really busy, and like, you know, one thing the lads say is like, they answered recently a question was like, you know, how do you find doing a podcast when you're really tired? It's like, well, what happens is that we usually talk for about 20-30 minutes before. So like at the start you're like, fuck that, and then you get chatting to one another, and then you're like, okay, we're hot now, let's go, let's like hit record, let's fire here. Like, yeah.
And that's, you can absolutely sense that coming across too, like that the creativity between you, but it just flows so easy, and it comes across. But you know what it is, what I love, and for you it must have been a lovely jump. Obviously you went through the hard, not, I suppose, you went through Ivan Yates, and and it's all very much focused and serious, and then people turn to camera, they're very much you know, same with the late, it's all but there's a beautiful honesty in what you're doing. And I think that something comes with, infected is the wrong word, I think tarnished from, you know, popular culture, whereas you and the guys just come across as very professional, but at the same time you haven't been tarnished by, hey, you got to be on it here, you got to be polished and on it here. There's an almost well, what's the crack, let's sit around and drink some tea, even though, you know, those in the know would know that a hell of a lot of effort goes into it. But there's a beautiful honesty to it, I think, that comes across when you're chatting.
Yeah, because I just don't think we'd ever want to bullshit each other or bullshit. Like, I don't like it when people present themselves more as they am, or, you know, like have an inflated ego about things.
Lord.
Because most things in life are luck. Like, you know, it's really, you know, you're lucky to be alive, you're lucky to have a job, you're lucky to have a house, you're lucky to be around nice people. So, you know, like, I always think we should be appreciative of that, and really appreciative from the people who listen to us and say nice things about us and listen to the podcast every week and support the Patreon. And, you know, like, it's lovely actually the week in Portugal and just the time to decompress and de-stress and be away from everything, away from like the demanding dog and the 47 emails that you haven't answered yet, and just go like, whoa, like, this is just, you know, so incredible. And like, plus like it's you know, like, what I think we always try to be is we try to be honest, so that, you know, people can be relatable. Like, you know, like, I always like talking the podcast about like, oh, put on 15 kilos in lockdown, and like, I'd just be honest about that. Like, I felt shit about it, but like, I'm sure there's plenty of other people there, and if they hear me not freaking out about it, be like, look, I'm just gonna eat sensibly, do loads of walk, and I'll get the weight off. And yeah, like, still 4 kilos to go, but like, we're getting there, you know. So it's just, I don't want to ever, you know, like, you know, ever. My boyfriend is obsessed with me getting the blue tick on Instagram. He's like, have you got Instagram? I was like, honestly, I could give a fuck. Like, here's my phone, you fill it out and send it off there to Instagram. I don't want to be, it just wouldn't be me. I wouldn't like it in myself, you know. I think it's very ignoble thing to be like that.
Yes,
like, I don't know,
that's a great word. Great word.
Like, and no disrespect to people who want to put themselves across as the best version of themselves, but I just don't think it's a good thing to be overstating your abilities or your, I don't know what way to say it, over inflating your ego, because people see through it. Like, they really, particularly Irish people, I think we know you know, some people have a really good bullshit radar. You know,
they do, but there's if what I've noticed is that people that will put out that polished image all the time, if they stay on it continuously, people do. But like, I remember I've spoken to people and accidentally burst the bubble of the notion of the person they're talking about. I'm like, what? But sure, look at they take it shit just like the rest of us. And they're like, you know, you could see by them. It's like, I know, but they're, and you're like, no, we're all just trying to get through our day. And that was, I remember it was a great, I don't know, and it definitely happened coming back from lockdown, but it happened a couple of years ago. I remember just something clicked to my brain on stage one night where it stopped being for me. And then it was literally mid-set and it became for them. And apparently, talking to seasoned comedians, that takes about 12, 13 years. I was lucky for me, it happened about 6 years in, where it was, something happened. And it was like, oh, this is way better. This isn't about me. Oh, I'm great. I'm fantastic. It literally happened mid-set. I don't know what joke I was doing. And then I think I just started laughing along with the audience because it was so silly what I was talking about. And then the immediate enjoyment to going, oh, yeah. Oh, no, let's just brush away all that muck and absolutely just lean into how silly this is. And I'm here because they don't care. Do you know what I mean? Even the 3 Arena full that night, probably 4 people came away knowing my name because they sure as shit didn't come for me. They came for you and the 2 boys. But the people that were there had a great time. I had a great time, but I had a great time knowing they were having a great time, you know? So it was, but I knew what my role was, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah. No, because it's so funny you're talking about that, because there's one quote that I always think about a lot, and it really stuck with me. Is like, have you seen the film Behind the Candelabra?
Yeah,
it's the film
Amazing.
with the Matt Damon and or no, sorry.
You're right.
Yeah, Matt Damon and
Michael Douglas.
And Michael Douglas is playing Liberace, and there's this scene in it where he's talking about playing the piano and how he learned to play the piano, and he figured out one night it's just like people just want to have a good time.
Yeah.
So like that's his thing when he's putting on a show. That's why Liberace was so successful. It's like people kind of see me, they want to have a good time. Like, you know, it's like, and same with the thing of like the podcast. Like I always think it's like, this should be, when you listen to it, an hour out of your day where you're just taken away from life and you're just laughing at the stupid, absurd, mad shit that can, like, you know, you're distracted from real life. You know?
Yeah.
So,
and that's exactly it, because your average person has got their own worries, and the same as all of us, rent or mortgage or what are they going to eat tomorrow? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is the dog all right? You know, how are they getting home tonight? They're not. There's very rare you'll find, especially I guess from my point of view, in a comedy club environment where it's, you know, they haven't particularly come to see you. If they have, great, but if they come to a comedy club, they've literally just shown up, gone blank slate. Let's just let's just switch our brains off, and this hour and a bit will blank out our lives, and we can, as you said, be transported somewhere just for an hour or what, you know, to take away from the real world. And that for me is why I love it. Like, do you know, I have to kind of lie to myself sometimes when I'm listening to podcasts, because, you know, you become biased when I think this is class because I know him, you know, I know you, like, but on the other hand, I go, no, it's actually class if I didn't know him as well, you know, the kind of way. There's this weird duality in my brain going, shut up, you. Yeah, okay, fine, we know him, but it's a class podcast regardless, you know. I don't want to undersell it to myself, but that's the idiot I am. I'm literally have rows with myself inside my own head. But and what did it feel like walking out on the stage on the 3 Arena? I mean, you've done a bunch of live shows before.
Yeah.
So was it like, grand? I mean, there is prestige that comes with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think do you know what's funny though? It's a lot easier to walk out to 10,000 people in the 3 Arena than it is to walk out to 200 people in the Sugar Club, because you can see their faces.
Yeah.
You can be like, oh, I can see your eyeballs. Oh, I know that person. Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't know. Like, there's this thing I remember doing. I remember I was 7 years old, Garrett. I remember doing this like Christmas concert at school. Like, it was in the community center, and all the classes did a different play. And we did this play about a toy maker who makes dolls, and the dolls come to life. And I was the toy maker's wife. And I just remember like the curtain going up, and like as the scene starts, I'm in the background polishing the table, and I was like, the audience is there, that like there's two other characters having the dialogue, and I'm just laughing on the table. And like I was just like, I'm gonna have fun here. And that's just the attitude I have now. Is like, whenever something's going on, I'm gonna have fun here. Just smile. Yeah. So like, and plus like I'm there as very much the side piece. Like, you know, those two guys are like, you know, just there to like, they keep the thing going. Like, you know, it's not like, definitely tougher, I think, doing stand-up comedy on your own, because you're the one that's holding it, like, and you don't need any, like, you don't have the backup of like, okay, I can hand it over to this person and they're gonna lob a ball and you know, keep the energy going, or yeah, they're gonna pull me up in this, or they're gonna throw me a feed line. You know, you're there on your own. Like, I think, yeah, stand-up comedy just as one person is way harder. Like, but probably more satisfying in one way, because you know, when it goes well, like, you get to take all the glory. Like,
I guess so. Yeah. I guess so. But then there's almost, I don't know, is it an Irish thing in me or whatever? There's like, I've been touring my own show. We did 2 nights in Tipperary recently, and there was an embarrassment level at the end of how great of an audience there were. I was like, I mean, I wasn't close to tears or anything, but I knew it was a good show. I'd polished it over a good few other venues, and this was ready for them. But at the end, I was kind of going, "Shut up, will you? Sit down. It's fucking grand. Like, all right, quick." You know, there was that in me. It was like, oh, "Shut up, stop." Like, no, shout something at, you know. There was, this has been too nice and too easy, you know, to a moment. Like, but yeah, it is much nicer. But I tell you, when it goes fucking wrong. It was like I don't know if you were or you were backstage during the Marquee one. Like the one in 3 Arena was flawless. Like, but the the Marquee one, I thank God I'm doing comedy so long that I could start a roar laughing at the awkwardness of it in the moment. But while I was on stage, the person said, well, it wasn't the same person from the agri-show in Louth, but it was there was a person on the tannoy over, because it's a tent, you could hear them from outside throughout the entire tent telling people that the show has started. it was as loud, but it was really muffled, so it sounded kind of like an auction at the mart.
Oh my God.
I just started fucking roaring laughing. I went, can everybody else hear that, or is it inside my head? And thankfully the audience went with me. They were like, yeah, what the fuck? Am I getting heckled by a fucking cattle mart? What's happening? How? I know we're all country in here, like, but Jesus Christ, like.
Yeah.
But so yeah, in that moment, thankfully, I'd been doing it long enough where you're like, oh, this is going off the fucking rails. But I'm glad this is happening to me, because I am supposed to be the buffer. So, and it doesn't happen to the vice of Maura. Jesus Christ. Have you, what surprised me was, even by association, like, people that had saw me at that gig came to my show in Tipperary from like Kerry and Dublin the other night. I'm like, what the way? Yeah, but as a result of the two Johnnies show. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's a tiny bit of association, but like, I mean, because it's the 2 Johnnies and Maura, like, you must get, do you get surprised still? Like, that person coming up to you, well, in Portugal, no, when's the third night? You know, you like, do you even still get surprised at this stage?
No, like, not really. Like, I think maybe because we've had 2 years of lockdown, and like, I haven't really been out that much. Like, and like, the podcast has become massive in those 2 years. Like, you know, really has. But no, it's always lovely. I feel like so unworthy. Like, sometimes you're just like in the middle of something and you're just like, oh, like, you know, like, you'd be like stressing about something. Somebody come on, I have more for the 2 Johnnies. I'd be like, yeah, and you might be curt accidentally, but it's just like, because you're stressing because the dog has gotten out of the back seat and is now sitting on the passenger seat, and you're worried about them like stepping on the handbrake and letting the car roll down the road, and you're like, you know, it's just because you're just like, but like, this person recognizes you and they love listening to you, so you want to have a little chat with them, like, you know. So yeah, it's lovely. My boyfriend loves it. He thinks it's class. He thinks it's like,
Yeah.
He calls me celeb Maureen. I'm like, shut up, would you? Like, it's like the notions of it. Actually, I remember one time we went to, this was 2 years ago. We went to, have you ever heard of the Cage of Fields in North Mayo?
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah, so the Cage of Fields, okay, so people don't know what they are. They are the first evidence of organized farming. So they're from about 5,000, 6,000 years ago. It's like basically, yeah. So like anywhere in the world, first evidence, because like they're like these stone walls, enclosed paddocks, on like northwest tip of Mayo. First evidence of organized farming. So like I think they're from like 6,000 years ago, because they know that because they're under like 5 feet of turf or whatever. Like, so me and the boyfriend, well, I was like really enthusiastic about this. He was not. He was like, they're just stones in a field. But I'm like, Pete, like this is like a significant moment in human evolution.
So does the
like,
fucking pyramids.
Yeah, what? And he's like, he was like, there's this lad from the OPW sitting down in the car. It's like, he's after putting those stones in this field. I know he has. Like, we got into a big, I want to say like domestic. It was heated. We were audibly loud about it. Like, I can't believe you just. And then somebody comes up and, are you more from the two Johnnies? Yeah, my boyfriend's a dickhead.
Did they even let the row die down, or did they diffuse it by jumping in the middle?
They did diffuse it. It was like the stupidest row ever. It was like one of those things like, I can't believe you don't think this is important. It's like, and then it was like, it's grand. We went to Downpatrick Head afterwards, and that he liked the big column out in the middle of the sea. He thought that was class. I was like, right, okay.
Well, I'm with you. I've a deep history. Well, I'm getting real conspiracy theory at the moment. I think we're way older than they're laying us down to be. I don't know about aliens or any of that shit, but I think humans have been around and farming and doing shit for way longer. I think, like, there's kind of there's no start to it. They're kind of going, Ice Age, and then sure, look at about 4,000 or 5,000 years ago we were farming. I think we were at stuff way longer than that. Like 100,000 years ago, I think we were at stuff.
It's really mad. Like, I was my favorite audiobook, and I haven't finished it yet, is A Brief History of, is it Yuval Harari,
yes.
Homo sapiens or something, whatever history of, no, I don't know what it is, mankind or something like that. But like, he goes through all the different stages of like human evolution and that, and it's just fascinating. And there's other really interesting interview Joe Rogan has done with an Egyptologist who thinks that the Sphinx is actually much older than the pyramids, because the stonework around the Sphinx, there's evidence that has been subjected to rainfall, like really tropical, heavy rainfall. So like, you're talking about like many more thousands of years ago, where like when there was that part of the world was actually a tropical rainforest. Like, so it's just it's mind-blowing.
I mean, the archaeologists, there's actually a law only recently came in the last 2 weeks where you're pretty much not allowed to speak about pre 5,000 years ago, basically, but they can't really enforce it because of, have you ever heard of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey?
No.
Up until this was found, they were like, nothing happened pre 5,000 years ago. And then they found this place called Göbekli Tepe. And it's actually an organized city that was buried under the ground that cannot be argued. It's minimum 12,000 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So they're like, fuck. So once you start down that, like, there's a great guy, if you can, he's got Randall Carlson is his name. Okay. And he's got a couple of amazing books. I think it's Footprints of the Gods, or Fingerprints of the Gods. That's a book where you'll come out of the back end of it going, you'll end up wrecking everybody's head, because you'll go, Jesus Christ, and it's all based on evidence and not actual hearsay. It's based on evidence that we've probably been around way fucking longer
Yeah.
but most likely an asteroid impact 12,000-13,000 years ago bust up all the ice shelf that was the whatchamacallit, the ice age, and sent us backwards. The likes of Atlantis and everything went missing. Everything.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I won't ruin it for you, but if you can find
Okay.
he reads his audiobook. He's an English guy, and he's got a lovely way of talking. So
yeah.
if you can find Fingerprints of the Gods,
Okay,
again,
I'll check that one out.
You're gonna wreck everybody's head. So living in the countryside, was there ever, because we lived like 12, 13 years in Dublin, and it was emotion, and thankfully I was able to not convince my wife. She always liked Tipperary, even though she's from Dublin. She was like, no, Christ, this is what you want. But your boyfriend, where's he from? Because does he appreciate turf, is what I'm saying.
So he was born in New York. His parents are Irish. His mum's from Navan and his dad's from Monaghan. He came back to Ireland then when he was a child, and he spent, like, his dad lived in America still, so he spent like time back doing in Ireland. So yeah, he's very sophisticated, and he has like that American confidence, like, but he's very much Navan as well.
What's that combo of an accent like when you met him first? Does he have the crossover?
No, it's very much Navan now. But he said if we go back to New York for like a week, his twang would come back. Like his older brother Eddie, who lived in America till he was 15, I think, has much more of a stronger American accent. So, but yeah, he's like. Yeah, Pete's like all about that real positivity and, like none of that Irish begrudgery and, real. That's what I love about him. Like, he's real. Like I'd always be freaking out about stuff and be like, oh, the podcast wasn't good enough this week, or my mystery topic was shit, or fucking we haven't had, like, we need to get more women on the podcast, or like, just things. And he'd be like, just chill, you're grand, it's not going to shit. You just need to sit down for an hour instead of panicking and just work through all that stuff. And then you'd be like, oh grand, okay, thank you for that. Yeah, I needed that.
Yeah. They're great that way, aren't they? The American attitude is like, no, see, it's fine. Do you know what I found, actually? Because does your brain run like 9,000 revs motorbike even when you lie down in bed? You're like, all right, brain, we're gonna have a row here. You better start shut off, because you've got 9 million things in your head.
Yeah, I definitely, I do a thing where I speed read. So like I can't even remember how fast I can read, but like I could finish a book in a couple of hours. Like,
Stop.
Like really.
And take it all in.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like just take it in. But then sometimes, and it's happened a couple of times in the podcast, my brain would be going so fast. I would be tripping over myself and mumbling my words because I'd be getting them out so fast. And it happens as well, like when I'm writing as well, I'll like write out a sentence, but sometimes I can leave out all the little co-joining words. Whatever, I can't remember the proper grammatical term for them.
Yes.
But I can see that, but so that's actually like why I try to have my phone a little less, be on it a little less, and try and get back into doing yoga and stuff like that. Because like it's really good to have that 2 or 3 hours a day where your brain is like in fifth gear hot. But then like if you're spending longer than that, like you're going to burn yourself out. Your creativity is going to go to shit because your brain's like, oh no, just like stick on a movie there that you've seen like 5 times before. You're able to watch it without having to concentrate, that way. So
what I found, and it was my wife said it, she was like, again, the brain was doing 90, like, and you're going, all right, fuck. And I'll never forget, it was a day, the day Johnny B asked me to do the 3 Arena, literally walking up to his house that day, I got an email, and it was telling me that the festivals that I'd been booked for, the organizers had requested that the likes of me not be involved. I was like, what? Okay, if you wrote out exactly what I am, they don't want me. They want all the opposite things to me. So I went, for fuck's sake. And to be fair, I'd know what Johnny wanted. I thought he wanted to talk advice on something, or maybe he wanted to practice stand-up, which he talked about before. And I went, yeah, great. This would be mighty. Cup of tea anyway to see somebody. I'm just going in and have a scone. Yeah. And it was funny. I got this and I was fucking annoyed. It was like 3 juicy festivals, like, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. And then in that moment, he went, hey, do you want to open for us at 3 Arena? I went, yeah, fuck that email.
Fuck that shit. Yeah.
But it was, I remember Natasha going, now do you see? Do you see what I'm saying to you? Because you put out that positivity to the world and fuck that, throw it out. But what she got me was, for the nighttime, was CBD oil.
I was thinking about this. Like, it's actually one of the things I thought about in Portugal, because they seem like a
game
CBD
changer.
shop. Really?
Game changer. I swear to God. And you don't feel it kick in. There's no, oh God, I feel a thing. You feel like there's no change in you. Only that literally, I found within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
All of the things they're just gone now. And if I try to go, what about that thing? It's like, gosh, that's great. Literally, it changes your attitude to what the fire that was in your head. It changes your attitude to it. And the best night's sleep I've had in years. Like, unconscious. Within 45 seconds, you're unconscious. It's dynamite gear. I would advise. You'd swear I was getting sponsored by a crowd, but I'm not. It's
no, I am going to check it out now, because definitely, like, I do need to. Like, the thing is, like, if you're working too hard, you actually end up being less productive, because you're just, you know, like, sometimes what you need to make, like, a TV show for, like, RTE, or like an item, or how do I make this thing work? It's just, you just need that one good idea.
Yeah.
And like like, if you're rested and you're eating right, and you're not like fucking drinking 40 pints the weekend, and you're getting out walking, if you're making time just to chill out there, like, it could only take you 1 hour to come up with that idea. Whereas if you're just like, oh my God, I feel like shit, this is going to take 6 hours, like, to get, you know, and just to calm everything down so that you can get that idea factory working. So I'm going to check that CBD oil.
I haven't. It was, who was advised me was a mate of mine, Colin Geddes. He's a comic up the north. And Geddes went, he was saying it, he was talking about it, because is it any good? He goes, do you have crazy mental brain speed at nighttime? Yeah. He goes, this will just shut that off. Went, all right. Anxiety, everything gone out the window. I was like, it just lets you sleep with, and then what I find is, the mornings, we get up right early on the summer mornings are lovely. Like, if you do have something to write, say I was writing for an ad yesterday, the crack I had writing it.
Yeah.
And I had it banged out in 20 minutes. Done. Yeah. Done. Just exactly what the advice you just gave was, like, be in a good, healthy shape. And the crack I had just up until just writing this thing, I went, yeah, that's done. And as he emailed it over, it came straight back, went, perfect, fine. So, yes, it's exactly as you were saying.
Yeah.
But now, tell us about your boyfriend. Where did you meet a Irish American football player? Like,
Tinder.
Did you actually meet him in Tinder?
Yeah, I did.
Brilliant. So it's Tinder success story.
Oh God, yeah. But like, initially, so he's from Navan, right? So
is Pierce Brosnan. Do you know?
Yeah, I know, right? But so, like, the first day I was like, so where do you want to meet in Navan? He's like, oh no, let's meet somewhere outside Navan. I'm like, why? He's like, why would you want to go outside Navan? He's like, oh, I don't like Navan. So he's like, we met in Slane, and he's been all there suave, like, you know, chatting away, talking about him. Like, he worked in advertising for Me Chronicle and played American football side time. Now he does it professionally, but like, he's 32 now, so he won't have too much more long on it. But like,
I love that you lost a yard of pace. I'm just saying you
no. He's still awesome, like, at what he does. Like, he's just, you know,
to clarify,
he's in the German football league now, which is like the creme de la creme of Europe. Like, so it's like amazing that he's gotten there. Like, you know, Yeah, he's unbelievable. Like, he only took this sport up at 20, which is like...
They must have it in him. They must just have it in him.
Yeah, he's from a sporting family. His uncle is Joe Castles, who captained Meath to an All-Ireland in 88.
Right, yes.
Good pedigree, you know.
Good pedigree. I love the notion that your father's checking his teeth and everything just to make sure.
But yeah, so we went to Slane and he's just there giving all the chat and looking all well, and I'm just like, this lad has a girlfriend in Navan. That's why he doesn't want to be
my
there.
first thought.
I'm like this side piece, and was like, I'm like, not buying this at all. Like, this guy's a fuck boy. Yeah.
Was there a duality in your head and going, but look, what else am I doing today? I can be the side piece for today. That's it. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I was just like, right, okay, right. And then I actually dropped him back to Navan or whatever, and dropped him. And I was like, so I was testing him when I was driving. And I was like, so where does your girlfriend live? And he's like, I don't have a girlfriend. I was like, I thought I would trip you up there, like. But and then I don't know. I think I wanted to meet up another weekend, and he said he wasn't free. And I was like, he definitely has a girlfriend. He definitely, like, he's not free to meet up, like. And I'm like. So then I kind of ignored him, and then 3 months later he put it up on his Facebook saying how he gotten signed to play in Finland, and I was like, oh, so he's a pro athlete now.
I love how his stock just suddenly went up.
Yeah, and there was no comment from like any, like, I went through the Instagram comments. It's like, now where is the comment from the girlfriend saying so proud of you? And there was none.
So proud of you, bibs.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, maybe he doesn't have a girlfriend. So then we met up after that, and I told him, I was like, look, I had all these suspicions about you. And he was just like, what? And I was like, yeah. So he's he's drunk. He hasn't put a ring in it yet, which is a bit of a issue.
I wasn't asking. You know, I didn't drop the fact in that I have a wife, you know, a bunch of times throughout this. I'm just saying. But how long are you going? About
3 years now.
Yeah. Oh, time from Jesus, he must.
Yeah, I'm just gonna troll him into proposing. Like, I don't, I'll just.
All week in the run up to this being not only being released, to the following week, I will just continuously harass your boyfriend. God, you actually burnt out the B word, the boyfriend word. You've used it too many times now. You can't. It's time to move on to F in the alphabet, please.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, I know he's a good egg. So Tinder does work. I have to say that, like, so glad I'm not single anymore. But I'm so glad I didn't settle either. Like, because Jesus, like, some, like, a lot of men out there who just are fucking, like, oh man.
But you see so many couples who aren't meant to be together, and all of a sudden you've got kids, and they're just downloading the hatred of each other down on the kids. And you meet a kid and you go, why is that kid a bit of a dickhead? Yeah. And you meet the parents, you're like, you fucking hate each other. Right. Yeah, you fucking hate each other.
Like, the amount of women I know, like, not friends of mine, because I call them out in this, but, like, say friends of friends who are, like, openly posting passive aggressive shit about their husbands on Facebook. Like, you're just like, why? Like, why are you in that situation? Like, really? Like, it just, but if I have a problem with Pete, I'd go like, Pete, you're a bollocks over this, and he'd be like, fair enough, yeah. But just so you were a bit of a bitch over that, and I'd be like, oh, fair enough, yeah. Just communicate, like, rather than this, like,
I never get that us versus them kind of a thing. I never got that. It was like, why would you go all the way to marrying somebody who you do? I never, and even, like, we'd be watching a program or whatever, and you see, where there's a house building program, Christ, or prior to the wedding, it was a wedding program, but so you can guess what's happening next. Like, but you're getting this couple and they're just having, like, pissy remarks to each other on camera. You're like, here. Why? What? And you're going to build a house together. You hate each other. Christ above. But tell me this. So with the explosion of it and the speed, and you've kept your feet grounded. But what were you doing for the boys during the, we'll call it, sticker gate? You know what I mean? We're going,
we're going to really talk about that.
No, we're not. We won't go into I messaged two boys straight away. I went, don't mind a pack of cunts. I'd walk now if it was me, if they don't back you. But I'm guessing they'll back you. But don't worry about what anybody says. You're as hard as fucking nails and you're two good blokes, like, you know. And,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think it's just, like, anybody who knows, like, I always think that, like, Ricky Gervais has a really good line about, like, if you know the right thing, you can laugh the wrong thing, you know? Yeah. And, like, we have talked so much in the podcast about really important stuff like consent, you know, respect, you know, like communication, relationships, like, you know, like, you know, we talked about, like, women not wanting to play GA like matches because when they're on their period, because they're white shorts. Of
course.
And like when we talked about that in the podcast, like within I think 2 months or something like that, the rule was changed. Like,
I remember that.
Yeah. And that was like, you know, I'm not saying it was like maybe it would have been changed anyway, but like we were like the only place that highlighted it from what I can see. And then, you know, this Instagram video goes out and suddenly people are putting this perception on the guys that they're this way, and it's like it couldn't be further from the truth. And it got really just blown out of proportion, I felt. And like I know everybody is very sensitive about gender politics at the minute, and with good reason.
Yeah.
You know, but I think people should keep their powder a little bit more dry for different situations, like, you know, because it just, I don't know how anybody benefited out of that situation. I really don't, because it was just
nobody did.
Yeah. And like there's so much that this country has to do in terms of, like, you know, like, to get serious for a second, like,
yeah,
you know, like, this country is absolutely shit when it comes to like dealing with violence against women and all that. Like, you know, like there should be, and like everybody's like conscious of like Aisling Murphy and that, you know, like her tragic death, and like, you know, like being critical about somebody reading out bumper stickers is not where the conversation needs to be. There needs to
undermines it, if anything, because it's like,
yeah,
you're diluting the actual serious issues, I think.
Yeah, like there's, you know, like I could say things like, you know, like if somebody is arrested for domestic violence, like there should be an automatic hold on them for 24 hours. They should not be let out of a prison for 20 hours. That, like, that's in law in America. It's not the case here in Ireland. Like, you know, like domestic violence shelters, there's not enough accommodation in them whatsoever. And like, these are really difficult things to talk about, and they're very boring, and they're not things that are going to get politicians, you know, airtime, and they're not the things that are going to sell newspapers. But these are the things where the conversation needs to be at, and everybody just needs to be like, okay, we all want the same thing. We all want women to feel respected and all that, but like, how do we do that in a really sensible, mature way? And it's like, that's a really important conversation. And it's like, I don't want to like talk too much more about it, because I don't want it being dragged up again or anything like that, because it was really painful. Like, and you know, like, it was anybody. Have you read the book John Ronson's So You've Been Publicly Shamed? No,
I've heard of it. All right, I've heard of it. Yeah,
it's really like, I was so glad I'd read that book prior to being in a situation like that, because you understand a bit more about the social media reaction and that kind of thing. And you just go like, okay, this is people reacting because people are just sensitive at the minute and they don't have the full facts, and they mightn't be familiar with the podcast. And, you know, like, you know, but it's like, I would always feel that like you can laugh at the wrong thing if you know the right thing. And maybe we just haven't been vocal enough about how we have like talked about stuff like this, but we never tried to, when we're talking about things like that, we never want to approach it in a preachy way, because people would just turn off. Like it's better just to have a conversation and be like, okay, look, what's this? Like, okay, here's my prejudice about it. Maybe you could educate me a bit more about it. Can you explain this to me so I can understand it better? And, you know, if you have a nice civil conversation about you both come away from learning a bit more and being a bit more just able to respect somebody a bit more, if you know what I mean. Like, yeah.
Well, I think what's brilliant about what you just said is that, and coupled with the fact that it's now like it's clearly the biggest podcast listened to by regular folk. Like there's podcasts, plenty of podcasts out there, and you'll, for all want of a better phrase, to be white collar people absolutely backing it to the hill. Go, this is possibly the greatest thing I've ever listened to. You're like, oh, okay, all right. So everything you take from the, but to have the ear of the general Irish people who would have never listened to, they'll never, even if a politician did speak about women's of violence towards women, they would never hear it. It may be said towards their face, but what's brilliant is that but you're doing it in such a good way. So you're having a conversation and people are listening in on it. And like you said, you can bounce ideas back and forth, no matter what it is. Even if it is just from GA to serious things. I go, Jesus, my mind has been changed on that, which is the best form of, like, the best form of discourse, because that's what discourse is supposed to be like.
Yeah, because I actually think that, like, my attitude towards men has softened enormously, like, over the past couple of years. Like, I used to be like, men are all bastards.
Of course.
Blah, blah, you know, but, like, I'm like, do you know what? It's... Peoples are peoples. Yeah, people are people. And it's so funny, like, people, like, I think your gender shouldn't come into it. Like, you know, like, it really shouldn't. Like, one of the things that, you know, I felt about the catfish thing that I said it was that, like, you know, if the gender roles were reversed about this, people would be up in arms, like, saying, why isn't this illegal? And I would feel that, like, well, why is it okay if it happens to a man, but it's not okay if it happens to a woman? Like, surely we should be protecting everybody from this. You know, it shouldn't take for it to happen to a woman to then go, okay, now we need to legally protect people against this. You know,
yeah.
We should be like gender blind, gender neutral. Like you know, like, people, like, everybody's so diverse and different. I hate it when we're all lumped into, like, oh, this is the woman's view and this is the man's view. And, you know, like, it's no, like, you know, I don't speak for all women, but I would feel that, like, you know, I speak for somebody who's maybe
you've been a woman for a good while anyway.
Yeah, and just, this is my perspective on it, and I would rather give my perspective. Like, people are free to email in, give their different views and stuff like that, and then, you know, we get such good correspondence in as well, like, really interesting. Like, even when we were talking about swingers and stuff recently, and you know, talking of, like, it was so funny, we were able to get, like, the views of, like, where one couple is like, we are, like, Miley and Fidelma, like, the most regular normal couple you meet, but my God, do we love swinging, like, and it makes our marriage happier, we have kids, we have best life together, and like, that's, like, one perspective on, like, how amazing swinging is. And then you have the other perspective of where, like, this girl found out that her boyfriend was swinging behind her back, and it was like, she was like, swinging is the worst thing ever. So, like,
by that, people, we're talking about the sexual thing, not actually on a swing behind her back trying to kick her down the park.
No, having sex with strangers, that kind of swinging. So so, like, it's just, I like it when we come for subjects from a whole different kind of whole different viewpoint, or several different viewpoints, you know. So,
well, that's the great thing about what you're doing as a podcast, I think, because there's no agenda, because you've worked in TV for so long. Not that you'll get an agenda handed down from the government or whatever, but at the same time, there's an agenda to go, let's dance outside this and not stick our toe in too far, because we don't want to get burnt. We're going to lose our advertisers and all the rest. Whereas, do you know, like, there are guidelines. We go, Maura, you have booked a fucking lunatic. I'm sorry, but that guy tried to set the place on fire the last time we brought him in. You're like, but he's fucking great for the conversation, you know?
RTE is publicly funded and quite substantially publicly funded. And we're also regulated by the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland, and so we do have to be held to a really high standard. And that's why I suppose the bumper thing happened, because suddenly the guys are in this situation where they're going to be under a lot more scrutiny. But sometimes you wonder, you never want to be in the situation that, okay, just because RTE is publicly funded and we were, under regulation and that you want to be killing creativity. I think the biggest challenge for RTE though is a lack of funding and probably changing your viewer listeners or changing viewing habits. Because one thing I'd love if RTE brought back the Republic of Italy. It was such a good program.
It started me on day one ever. It started us and we got a show commissioned out of it. It was one of the greatest things ever.
Yeah, and even people RTE would be it cost a lot to produce and it wasn't getting massive viewership. But I see sketches from Republic of Italy constantly across social media still, and it was 8 years ago that it ended, 6 years ago, and it's still those clips do massive views on YouTube, TikTok, they're massive on TikTok.
Sure, look at Mick Savage hasn't made the Savage Eye in 10 years and I remember we were driving back from a gig in Limerick. I went, why aren't you on Instagram, you big weirdo? Because he was being weird. It was snowing that night. He had his head out the window trying to lick. I said, why are? And he goes, I can't be bothered with that. I said, you're cribbing about not able to sell tickets for your show. Do you still own the rights to the Savage Eye? He goes, yeah, pretty much. I'm kind of, RTE are cool with me. I said, get all the clips set up and watch me start putting up some of the clips. Yeah. People still love that shit.
Yeah.
And I sent him on WhatsApp about a week later. Somebody in Germany had sent me this the farmer Mick, who was farming quails, right?
Yeah.
This one is a Fermanagh faggot. You're like, this is.
Oh God.
And I sent it on and went, I got sent this from Germany. He went, okay, I'm setting up Instagram instantly. So it was from there. Then but it was not to he took it to another level, brilliantly. But like you said, there's absolutely a market for it. But it'd be great if there was a few more quid to put towards creativity of some sort.
Yeah, it just or RTE is just we don't have a lot of money to make programming at the minute. And reform of the license fee needs to happen. And I don't care who disagrees with me. I'm it does need to happen, because public service broadcasting is so important.
It'll be gotten out of us another way, regardless. They'll put it on a tax. It'll be gotten out of something. So you may as well just be honest and pay up front for it.
Yeah, I think and people have this idea of RTE being a real salubrious organization. It's really not. It's not fancy. My desk is kind of manky, it's I'd much rather work
it's a bale of hay. Because you're from the country, they gave you a bale of hay. That'll do her. There's much better perks and benefits in the Farmers Journal that there is in RTE, but I would think, but I do love working there. But I would definitely feel that, and it's kind of happened with the player a little bit as well, but I think there needs to be more money put in there, is that, that you have those ideas that, you have that, funnel that people can come in through Republic of Italy and they can do well and they can kind of go on to making something else. Because I always think it's such a shame that Republic of Italy just ended as Joanne McNally came into it, because she could be really doing and she's it's so great to see her in Vogue doing so well, because it's she has the skill, she has the talent, and now she has the recognition, and she's selling out Vicar Street 30 nights in a row or something like that. So it's 40. It went to 40.
40. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I do think we need something like that. But look at, you have to keep the 6-1 news going first, because that's the real public service broadcasting.
Yeah,
and then comedy is the expensive thoroughbred of the broadcasting. News and current affairs is the workhorse.
It is. It's the yacht, isn't it? It's the I mean, we bought it last year, and honestly, we don't know what we're even going to do. We haven't gone out in it once, but it's bloody lovely to look at, isn't it? Yeah. So, and I won't keep you any longer. Jesus,
No, you're fine.
But so do you work, like, what's the work week? Your work week must be insane, because you're researching, obviously, and producing for the lads, and then they throw live shows and shit at you, and then you're working for. Are you still working with the Late Late then?
No, I'm working on the Works Presents. It's an art
Works
program.
Presents, yes.
Yeah, so like it's actually, I couldn't do the Late Late and do the podcast. I just couldn't do it, because like the Late Late is 7 days a week. Like it really is. Like, like you get you're in Monday to Friday, and you're in, like, even your Friday, you're in like 10 a.m. and you're not going home till sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, it's a really long day. Like, and you're just, then, you go to wake up Saturday morning, you're just dead, you're tired, you worked like a 14-hour day previously. So like Sunday, and then Sunday comes around and you're like, probably should read the Sunday newspapers to see what's in them in case there's any kind of good guest idea. So I did it for 4 years, and like I learned everything I think I could possibly out of it, and I really liked working with Ryan and the team. Like, the team are so nice. Like, I just think, and there's such an underappreciation for how hard it is to put together the Late Late, like, and the talent it requires.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's like, it's like the Late Late Show is a live TV show, and then people go like, oh, Graham Norton has say like The Rock on it. Okay, well, The Rock, that's because The Rock has come in from a movie premiere, in London on a Tuesday, and the producers of Graham Norton Show have specifically timed the recording of that show so that The Rock can go from his, movie premiere in wherever, Trafalgar Square, wherever it is in London, and then straight to BBC Studios for an hour, sit down, record it. Then they can go into post-production, edit it, make it cool, like, take out the bits where The Rock wasn't really on fire, wasn't being funny, and make it look class. We just, like, that, the luxury does not happen with the Late Late. Like, we go to air 9:35 on a Friday night, and you're like, okay, let's hope this goes well. Like, I can never get over that, like, that we did it like, because I'm like, I don't know why I did this to myself. I had live donkeys in the studio. I had a racehorse outside. I had dogs. I had
who greenlit you bringing a donkey in and a pig?
Yeah, well, no, I didn't have them at the same time. It's grand.
Hold on, you brought a ton of fucking animals into the yard.
Yeah, at separate occasions. The donkeys, we did this item about the donkey sanctuary in Cork, and I was like, can we get donkeys into studio? And like, we did this little full donkey. It was class. It was brilliant. It's like such a good item. Yeah. So so like, but then as actually I ended up reading a book, what was her name? Pan Collins. She was a researcher on the Late Late Show in Gabo's time, like in the 70s and 80s. And I was just reading it out of interest, and I like they did the exact same. She had a racehorse. They had not Shergar, what you call it, Red Rum or someone in the studio. Yeah, and I was just like, yeah, my creativity is done here. If I'm doing repeating stuff that they did in the 80s, I need to go off and do something else. So now I work in a very highbrow arts program, which is really interesting though, because what we do is we take like somebody who's a filmmaker or a cinematographer, a musician, and we do like a real in-depth program. It's like a half-hour program specifically on the work. And it's really interesting because you get to learn a hell of a lot about the creative process and people's technique for working and what their inspirations are. And like, even though somebody might be doing something I always think this is really interesting, is that they might be doing something mind-blowing artwork and you're like, how does your brain even think of that? Like, they're still really normal people. It's just whatever way they were brought up or whatever way their brain works, they can create something that's just like, oh, or just have a perspective on something, or, you know, craft something so beautifully. Like, it's really, I love working on it. Like, and it's a small team as well, so like it's fairly flexible, and we can kind of like, I can juggle the podcast and RTE. So, and like, plus like RTE is now allowing remote working, so I can, you know, I don't have to be in Dublin all the time. Like, so yeah, so no, it works well. Like, it's busy and it's important to take your rest time. So but yeah, I love it. Like, I like it. I'm so blessed to be where I am in my life right now.
Yeah.
Just, you know, I'm really like, I'm so thankful. And yeah, like, just like, thanks to everybody who listens to the podcast. Like, thank you. You're just all legends. Like, and you know, like the amount of messages we get, like emails we get in from people, and we never read them out, but like people going through hard times, like people going through miscarriages and divorces and not getting to see their kids as much, as like really like stuff that you're like, oh my god, like, how are you even coping with life now? And they're just so thankful for the podcast is there. It's like, it's an hour where I'm not worrying about that stuff, and you're like, that's cool, that's lovely, that makes it all worthwhile. So
isn't it? Yeah, isn't that class? But I'm telling you, I'm getting more. I'm not an overly religious person, but I am getting very into vibes, man. You know, and you know, I know it's a very London thing to be into nowadays, but like, the juju is good, like, that you're putting out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when people are giving it back like that too, like, you know,
I hope so. Like,
there definitely is, like, and that's, I think there's a, from the uptight fucking waspy last 7 or 8 years build up to a point of things that shouldn't be worried about, you know, eclipsing the things they should be worried about. But I get a feeling there's a positivity vibe kind of, and you would be one of the main, I suppose, progenitors of it. Like, you're putting it out, and that's a beautiful thing. Like,
yeah, it's not deliberate. It's not.
That's why. That's it. There's a naivety in what you're doing. There's a beautiful kind of going. You're putting it out there without the effort of going, we have to put out good. There just are. They just.
Yeah, but like, the one thing, like Johnny B and Smacks always blow me away with their level of talent and their creativity, and how they're just good guys. They're good eggs. Like, you could like ring them up in the middle of the night and be like, I'm after running over somebody, can you bring a shovel? You know?
That's how you, that's how you know you're ride or dies. When going, have you got lime? You know, have you got a shovel? Great.
Yeah. But not that they would help me bury a body, but you know, they're just, I'd always, if I had a problem, I could say it to them, and they'd put their arm around you, like, you'll be okay, you'll be okay. And it's just like, that's a really good trait in people. And like, they haven't changed. Their success hasn't changed them one little bit. They're still really good guys. And like, it, you know, I'd always think that, you know, like, you know, like sometimes they get comments online that like they're not funny or whatever. Like, that's perfectly fine. Like, you know, but just know they're really nice people. So like, you don't need to be so abrupt or angry in your, like.
I do think people, like, I've met people who have written about me on things I've actually ran into them, and I wasn't thinking when I said, no, it's okay, sorry. I know you weren't thinking, because physically when you see somebody on your phone or on, you know, you don't think it's a real person you're talking to, because you know, and they don't really feel that most of the time. It's just like, I'm going to just spout some bollocks, put down my phone and finish my tea, you know. So I think you're right. First and foremost, you're all good eggs, and that's what comes across lovely. Like,
I hope so. Trying to be good eggs.
I think your numbers would tell you that most people get it. I think, you fill the 3 arenas, so I think most people.
So sometimes I can be pretty premenstrual. I can be like a thunderous bitch. Like, you know?
That's healthy. That's healthy. So, sometimes you want a fucking dog that barks too. Like, you know what I mean? You can't have the sword cuts both ways. You know what I mean? You can't, what has you excited about what's coming up next now that you're revamped? You've put in a new battery after being away on holidays. Tank is full.
So the lads are, so the lads
full, probably cost you $3,000, but anyway.
The lads are in America at the minute, so like yeah, they're there for the next kind of 3 weeks. So we've a fair bit of material recorded before they went to America, so that's actually why I really needed the break in Portugal. Like I don't know, like I'm like, lads, you're going to America to work for 4 weeks. Like I would not go if you dragged me. Like, you know, I need a break here. I need to chill out. Like, so yeah, so the next 3 weeks we've really interesting stuff, and then like we just want to kind of keep going, and that like my ambition is always, and I hope this will happen some days, that like we would get a Saturday night entertainment show that I would produce, and that it'd be like an Ant and Dec's kind of style thing, and it would be very much like the Three Arena show. You know, there's a bit of music, there's like Ant and Dec Saturday Night Takeaway,
of course.
Audience games, you know, I love that thing Ant and Dec do where they, you know, they go to Zoom calls and people's houses. Yeah, like, and the lads would be really good at that. Like, you know, I just know that they would. So yeah, I think that would be that's always my end goal, but that might not happen. Like, we could do something else, we could, you know, keep doing it. Like, but I think people are happy once we keep the podcast poked out and keep it kind of going well. And yeah,
the fact that you said kept the podcast poked out, I was like, nah. That'll be the clip for this. We keep the podcast poked out. That's the most Johnny V line I've ever heard in my life.
I know. I was spending too much time.
And you're from a football county too. On top of that,
I know. Like, it's like, Jesus, like, I need to go home and have a chat with myself.
Tipperary is infectious. I'm sorry, I can only apologize. It is very infectious. I had my wife, who's from a very nice part of Dublin, had a very nice upbringing. I actually did it on stage in Clogheen the other night, where I went, I know she's turned and she can never go back. When I called her the other day, I said, have you seen my wallet? And she was at the back boot of the car, and she was normally she'd be polite and go, what? But I swear to God, she went. Have you seen my wallet by any chance? She stuck her head up and went, ha! I went, that's it. She's the fact that she went, ha! Like she looked like me shouting back at me for a brief second. I went, okay.
Oh God.
We're in fact, I can only apologize. I can only apologize for.
Yeah, no, two people are very. It's kind of interesting as well, like, because I've learned so much like Munsterisms. Yeah. You know, and you know, they're always fascinated by like the part of the world that I'm from. So I'm like in the middle of like Meath, Louth, Cavan, Monaghan, like very much the north.
You would be far from RD, are you?
Oh, like only like 10 miles from RD. No, yeah, 10 miles. No, 6 miles, 10 kilometers. Sorry.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Aldi hey.
Yeah. You, in fairness, you've taken the edges. You've taken the edges off that accent of yours. In fairness.
Ah, my gosh, like. I sometimes it slips out. I say things like, "Oh, do you want to drink a water?" or to go down and calve the cow. So I do.
Okay. I lived
in foot tough in the bog, so I am. Yeah.
So I am. There's no alliteration. There's no landing on any consonants or anything throughout. It's just like, let's just roll on through, but nothing but vowels. Yeah. Well, Maura Faye, this has been an absolute joy, as I knew it would be. Thank you very, very much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. Like, you know, I really enjoyed it. So yeah. So cheers.
Thanks so much, Maura.